The latest guest in our big conversation here on the Counterattack brand new program, loading up here, assistant coach from St. Mary's, Jamie Steingraf. Jamie, how are you?
Good, Greg. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course, glad to have you on. Excited to see a new varsity program, men's and women's, coming on board there in Moraga. Of course, the men's season up first. I think the first question when you think of a brand new program, never started from scratch, what is the first order of business? Like, obviously, James Lathrop gets hired as the head coach. He hires you. You guys get together. What's the first thing you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think it's been a long process to begin with, but I think the first thing that we were really kind of focused on and was going through kind of our core values. And we really wanted to make sure that, one, we're being competitive right away as soon as we can, but also that we're bringing in good players and good people too. I think we were really intentional with all the guys that we brought in. We're really confident that they're going to be kind of great people that are going to join our community here in Moraga and kind of join the water polo community around here as well. And so I think we're excited about having them meet the young kids in this area, meet the community and all that as well.
Kind of three avenues, I guess, you could go down to build a team. There's obviously recruiting, graduating high school kids. There's the JC kind of transfer market, or then Europe or other countries, right, where they play water polo. How did you guys settle on your strategy and who to go after where?
Yeah, so we kind of going through it, like I said, obviously we wanted good people, but we also wanted to be competitive and all that. And so I think based off the timing of when James was hired, but also when I was brought on, and so we kind of led to going more international at the beginning, and we're able to pick up some highly recruited and pretty talented guys from all over the world, including Italy and Barcelona and everywhere like that. And then from there, we also were able to grab a couple guys from the transfer portal who are all committed now, and then some JC guys. And there was still some highly talented guys from local high schools and high schools all over the country as well that we were able to kind of grab.
As you're meeting with these people to recruit them, what's the pitch? Because it's not an established program. You don't know what year one or even year two is going to look like. There's probably going to be some tough days. How are you selling the vision where for some of these athletes, as you talked about, they certainly had options to go to established places?
Definitely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is kind of like our culture. I think James and I are pretty confident with our ability to kind of make people a connected unit, both in the water and outside of the water. And so kind of selling the hotbed of water polo that Northern California is. I mean, within our area, there's several different clubs from CCU, Lamo, Diablo. All those clubs are half a mile down the road. And so kind of selling how important water polo is to this community as well, I think has kind of been one of our huge selling points, but also St. Mary's in general. We always say that it's a small school, but it does sports big, right? It does well. So all of our other sports are competing for WCC titles, competing for national titles, for rugby and for other sports like that. And so kind of selling how sports are done well here as well.
Yeah, everyone I think often thinks of St. Mary's men's basketball have long been a contender in the WCC. Great pipeline to getting athletes from Australia as well. So nothing new there to bring in some athletes from abroad. You could build a team around the style you want to play, or you could try to figure out how to play with the guys that you have. Have you had a thought on which way you're trying to crack that nut?
Yeah, I think we definitely want to really focus on making sure that our players kind of have an input of everything that we're doing. So if that's from our first team meeting in August when everyone gets here, we want to make sure that James and I have an idea of what do we want our team to look like and all that. But obviously we can't be in the water and play like we used to. And so we want to make sure that they're comfortable, they're confident with what they're doing at the same time in the water. And it's give and take too. If there's practices and we're doing something that's not quite working, we want the players to feel like they can come to us and say, hey, we need to switch this, do this instead, right? And kind of go from there.
So can you give us a bit of a snapshot on whatever you can share as far as the roster, how it's come together, what you're excited about, what you're looking to add before we get to September?
Yeah, so we're very excited. We have 18 guys committed right now and looking to get as close as we can to that 24 max for our first year. And we are very excited about a couple different guys, including the big one, which is Oyer, who is from Barcelona. His brother is the Spanish national team goalie. And so we're excited to have him join us. And as well as we have a bunch of high-level Italian guys, including a center, a goalie, lefty, and a defender, all from Italy. And then also a good good amount of JC transfers, including a couple guys from locally at DVC and as well as like American River College up in Sacramento area too. So we're excited about those guys, and then also our incoming freshmen as well. I think will be pretty strong. I think it will take them a little bit longer to adjust fully to the Division I level, but we're still excited to have all of them as well. And I think it's, if anything, we're definitely really happy with the people that we're getting, and I think it will be a good connected group right away.
Yeah, that signing of Oyer from Spain and someone who has experience with the national team at that pipeline level, that was a huge get. That has to be a really an early win for the program to get someone of that caliber.
Definitely. Yeah. We think he'll be a difference maker, especially for us in this first year, but also for years to come as we continue to grow, because I think we'll be a pretty young team, just kind of the way that the roster's worked out for the first year. But I think as we continue to get older and grow and kind of adjust to the game here, I think he'll especially be a huge difference maker for us.
So you've got the team, you've got enough guys here, at least 18, so you're ready to go there. I'm sure you're available as a goalie, right, for practice if needed, or a field player, wear whatever hat you have to.
Yeah.
Let's talk schedule. What does the season schedule look like? And again, do you ease into it? Do you try to take on some of the big dogs right away? What was the approach there?
Yeah, we're kind of, our whole mentality for this whole kind of process that we've been through so far was just, we're going to jump right into the deep end. So guys get here in early August, and since we're not able to practice during the summer because of just a bunch of behind the scenes rules and regulations and stuff, so they'll get here early August, and then we're going to jump right into the deep end. So we're going down to the Triton Invite, playing some high level teams there. We don't quite have the schedule for that yet. And then we'll continue to play a top schedule. So we'll go to Davis for the weekend. Our first home game will be against Whittier at Soto Aquatic Center, which we're hoping to get a huge crowd out there from both students and everyone at St. Mary's, but also the community as well. And then we'll just keep going and seeing how we do throughout the year. But we also know it's a long process, so we know that our team's not going to look the same strategy-wise or what we're doing on day one as it is in November when we get to the WCC finals as well.
So a tough schedule right out of the gate. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned playing at Soda. That's the pool at Camp Lindo High School in the East Bay. Great facility, has hosted national team matches, masters events, a lot of high-level competition there. So, not a small high school pool for those who might not be familiar with it. But what's the long-term vision facility-wise for St. Mary's?
Yeah, so we're actually we're hoping to get all of our drawings and everything like that for the new aquatic center within the next couple of weeks. But the whole plan is to make St. Mary's the next like aquatic hub for both high school, youth water polo, and then also college and even national team stuff. So the plan is to have seating for around 1,500 with locker rooms, offices, everything that you can kind of imagine into a aquatic center, all right on campus here at St. Mary's.
Take me through the logistics. I'm sure you guys have tried to hammer this out, but at least early on, right? It's not an on-campus facility. It's not that far from the campus. How will you work out practices, getting back and forth to games, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we're pretty fortunate that we do have a rec center pool here on campus that is 10 lanes. It's all deep water, and so we'll be able to have some practices there, and then we'll also utilize Soda as much as we can because we're kind of have a little bit more of a flexible schedule rather than like the high school teams, because we can practice in the afternoons or mornings where the other guys, all those teams will be in school. So we'll be able to practice during the day there. And the school's been lucky enough to have some vans and stuff that we can shuttle guys back and forth. And we don't see it as it will be kind of a problem at all to get them there and back.
We're talking here with Jamie Steingraf, assistant coach for St. Mary's brand new men's water polo program starting up in the fall, women's to follow in the spring. Exciting times really for a water polo rich area in the East Bay. I think people asked that question for years. Man, why doesn't St. Mary's have a team? They'd be perfect. They'd fit right in, right? Give Cal someone a little bit closer to play with. You're kind of in the mix there with all these other programs. As you think about year one, and you talked about the way that you guys are going to just go for it here from a challenging schedule perspective, what does success look like in this first season?
Yeah, I think just to continue growing and being competitive, but we also know that because we're not a top four school for say, right, we probably most likely won't get an at-large bid to that NCAA tournament. So it really know that if we're going to continue to grow throughout the season, and it really does end up who's playing their best on that day, on Sunday of the WCC finals, to get that at-large, to get that automatic bid to the championship. So we're we're hoping that we're going to build throughout the year and get to that and hopefully compete with those top schools in our conference.
Yeah, timing has been great here with the launch of the WCC League a couple of years ago. Really, I think, made it a nice transition for St. Mary's to add a men's team. You know full well how difficult that league can be. When you think about some of the challenges, how do you prepare for WCC play as you kind of work through the thoughts of this first season?
Definitely. I think I'm fortunate enough to have only missed the last season since I graduated last year. And so I'm just one season out. So there's still a bunch of guys that I've played with or I know. And so I think that's something that we can definitely utilize, as well as James and I are really prepared to make sure that we're the most prepared team for all of our matchups, both conference-wise and non-conference. So I think that with all of that in consideration, I think we'll be able to kind of get through that gauntlet of a conference that the WCC is and compete at the end.
You played at San Jose State. We were talking a bit about that before we started the interview. So I think that experience is interesting. You were part of a program that was the underdog in certain games, going up against some of the bigger teams. What do you take from that experience that maybe lends itself to trying to build something at St. Mary's?
Yeah, biggest thing that I've kind of taken from my experience at San Jose is, especially through those tournament runs that we had, even more specifically my junior year when we won the first ever WCC title, was kind of just the confidence that we had in each other. It didn't matter that we went in as the 3 seed in that conference. No one really thought, oh, San Jose is going to win this year, anything like that. And so but we all believed in it. So I remember coming back to the hotel or going to dinner after each game, and there was never a doubt being like, oh, we shouldn't be here. So I think if we can kind of bring that confidence to our team here at St. Mary's and build on that and just even kind of go from there, I think it'll be really important for us.
And then your individual story, I think, is one of just truly being a team guy. You were a goalkeeper, the starting goalkeeper at San Jose State. Really talented goalie comes in. If you watch the National League, you saw Brendan Japiash with heroics there in the penalty shootout to help LAAC claim the gold medal just a couple of weeks ago. So understandably, he gets the nod, and you kind of find yourself sitting and figuring out how can I play a role and then volunteer to be a field player. And I guess I bring all that up in that as you look for kids to be on your team, how do you describe the way that you approached trying to be a team first guy?
Yeah, that's something that we talk about here at St. Mary's a lot. Is it's really just sacrificing for your team for the greater good. I was lucky enough to have a really good relationship with the San Jose coach Gabor, and I still remember we were getting ready to play USC in the quarterfinals of NCAA, and I was warming up Brendan to shoot, and he kind of pulled me aside and he was like, hey, I think you could probably play field next year. So it was actually his kind of idea. Thought it was kind of a joke. And then in January when we showed back up for practice, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go, and went down with the field players and went from there. But here at St. Mary's, I think we really are going to, since everyone's coming in at day one, it's always going to be about what are you going to do to help the team? If that means one day you're our best player and you're in the water and you're scoring all these goals or whatever it is, but then there's the next day that maybe you're sacrificing and doing something else. And so I think it kind of put all of your egos aside, do whatever you can to sacrifice for the team is something that we're really focused on here.
You talked about your college experience. Head coach James Lathrop, so experienced, national team, local high school ranks. How does having a stronghold, I mean, he's such an East Bay guy, right? How does that help try to build this team out when you think about recruiting locally?
Thanks to everyone who contributed to men's and women's water polo on one day, one SMC.
All of your guys' contributions are going to go a really long way in helping us get these startup programs off the ground.
Go Gales.
Go Gales.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I was lucky enough to play for James for a couple of years at La Miranda. And so I think that our relationships has built for the last couple of years, even while I was playing in college, and he was kind of away from water polo for a little bit. And then now that he's back and we're here building this program, I think kind of both of us being able to be from this area, we're hoping to eventually be able to recruit some top level guys from this area and from all over California and even the whole country as well.
Now, you're not the only program on campus that's brand new. You have a women's team, Stephen Loomis heading up that squad. Yeah. You have a little bit of a tighter runway here. Your season's coming up in August, September. Women obviously start in January. What sort of bond do you have with the women's program? Just kind of maybe commiserating and talking about some of the same challenges in building something from nothing.
Yeah. Small world, as I'm sure you know about water polo too, is Stephen was actually my 12 and under coach. And so,
of course.
Yeah, I've known Steven forever, and then Jacob's been great. Jacob Castro, the assistant coach there. So just being able to work closely with them, making sure that we're all kind of on the same page with anything really water polo related or anything like that. They're always good guys to kind of bounce ideas off of and go from there. Same with our swim coach, Ellie. She's always great at kind of bouncing ideas off and making sure that we're being as productive as we can at all times.
What's been the response as you've connected with other members of the athletic department and they try to learn more about what it is you're trying to build?
Yeah, everyone here's been insanely nice to us and supportive. It's at first, James and I were actually talking about it earlier today, is that we were kind of alarmed by how helpful people are. And it's they're going out of their way. They're dropping whatever they can do to help us. And we're walking around campus and everyone's like, oh, these are the water polo coaches, right? Making sure that they're saying hi, introducing themselves. And so it's been a great experience so far here. And we can't wait to actually get our guys here on campus so that they can kind of see that firsthand as well.
And last thing, you talked about the success other programs have had there on campus. And I know men's basketball going through a transition, but you think about all the teams that have done well. Have you picked up what's the secret sauce that has made these teams succeed coming from a smaller campus, right? Not necessarily one of the Power 4 conferences, but have still found a way to compete at the very highest levels?
Yeah, I would say that just we're lucky enough to have a beautiful campus here, and everyone that we're able to talk to, either other sports wise, water polo related, everyone here has always said how beautiful campus is, the area is. And so trying to get as many people here on campus as we can to show them around and show them that this community kind of loves water polo. And we're excited for the fall when everyone can come out and actually see it in person and see the team that we've built as well. Excellent.
Well, exciting times ahead. Jamie, St. Mary's, wishing you guys all the best of luck ahead of the first ever season of Gales men's water polo. And it's going to be a really fun day when you open things up at home against Whittier.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.